Welcome everyone to DAO Speed Dating episode number 10. Glad to have everyone here with us today. This week we have DAO Records, Clay Token, and Tiexo with us. Really excited to have these folks here with us this week. Governor DAO is a bit of a one-stop dev shop. We do consulting, audits. We have customizable smart contract models for staking, airdrops, vault revenue sharing, liquidity generation event token launches, as well as an NFT launchpad. Those are kind of paired with or can be paired with our flagship service, which is Proof of Existence. Proof of Existence is a non-KYC anonymous proof of existence that proves that you're an individual and that you're not using multiple wallets, that you're not a bot, and allows for customizable environments that are safe, secure, and fair for everybody involved. It allows for things like fair voting, democratic, quadratic, or your own custom voting systems. It allows for human gating, Discord, Telegram, play to earn gaming, metaverses, DeFi insurance, DeFi credit scores. There's a whole lot of things that it enables that up until now haven't been able to be given without KYC. So we're pretty excited about that and trying to let as many people know as we can, because having a fair environment is really important for the space. If you want to learn more about it or us, you can go to governordao.com.
Thanks, Blake. So our first guest is from DAO Records. DAO Records is reinventing the record label in an effort to further the music industry through NFTs, metaverse, and DAO technology. From innovating music NFTs in early 2020 to recently launching their alpha on the Near protocol, DAO Records believes the future of Web3 rests in the ability to effectively onboard a community of artists and fans while still exploring interoperability and experimentation.
Thanks a lot, Eth and Blake, for DAO for having us. This is Vandal here, founder of DAO Records. And really, I'm just super excited to be here and just share a little bit about, what we're doing. I think that was a pretty accurate introduction and summary of it. But really, our mission is to be able to support artists' dreams. And in order to do that, we found there are a lot of difficulties within the current music industry and creative industries in general. And sort of the business models that are currently being used. And so through using a DAO, decentralized technology, through NFTs, and through sort of an IRL approach as well, we're hoping to bridge the gap between sort of the Web 2, and some artists aren't even Web 2 savvy either, right? So to bridge that sort of Web 0 to Web 2 folks in music scenes and creative scenes to an easy to use tool and platform and an introduction to the space in general in Web3. So our focus really has been about building and testing our core technology, which, as previously mentioned, is basically just a way to facilitate music NFT releases via a DAO, creating sort of a membership between musicians and their fans within the context of a DAO, and really kind of experiment and look at how we can enable artists to have their own identity. You're looking at establishing sort of like a marketplace for music NFTs. We're really looking at seeing how the artists themselves can be their own marketplace. And I think this is in line with sort of our vision in empowering artists and providing those tools. So what we're currently building is our backend infrastructure, which is like a dashboard similar to how musicians would use services like TuneCore or DistroKids to distribute their music digitally. but also integrating sort of a customized DAO interface, specifically designed with functionality beneficial to musicians, and hiding the catchphrases like, you know, governance and voting and proposals and these kind of things, and just kind of having it more intuitive for creatives to use. So in doing so, you know, a lot of it is about conversations with artists and participating in IRL events and meeting people and having the conversations, you know, like this one, and the opportunity to speak with everybody out there. And you know, it's a process at least five years down the road to be where we really want to be and start to make that impact. It's just a kind of a brief summary of sort of the core thing of what we're trying to create here. And a lot of us on the team are musicians. I myself am a musician. I've been involved in the independent music scene. I've had a glimpse of the sort of major label scene. And, you know, taking all my learnings and understandings and throughout my travels and my experience, you know, mentoring artists, and just really applying that to how we, you know, move forward with the mission and vision of DAO Records. So I'll keep it short and sweet. That's all from me. You can check us out at DAORecords.org. We recently dropped a 12-week music NFT release series featuring 12 artists using crypto voxels and reality chain as sort of the metaverse presentation for the drop parties and exclusive interviews with the artists. And we just finished wrapping that up, and you can find all the NFTs there at DAORecords.io. And feel free to hit me up, follow me. I'm also Van Digital in the crowd here on my laptop, and just using the DAO Records account today to represent for the crew.
Sounds like a great project, and no better than someone with lived experience being an artist to be a part of spearheading that. I do have some questions for you, Vandal. So in your mind, like, what is the most important factor in decentralizing the music industry?
Yeah, so I think, and just kind of examining what's been going on in the space, I've been around since 2017, and you know, I've seen a lot of people trying to replicate what currently exists in the Web2 space, whether that be sort of financial services or even sort of marketplaces. And to me, I think that that's kind of the wrong way to approach it. I think what we're really need to do is provide something unique and different. So, you know, if you're really trying to make a difference out there, and you want to stand out, try not to, you know, emulate what currently exists and kind of transport that over to the blockchain. It's kind of like, you know, we're going to disrupt Spotify by creating a new spot on the blockchain, you know, and I think, you know, that there's not really, I mean, it might work for some projects, but, you know, again, we want to kind of create our own lane and our own alternative where, you know, artists can really look at and be the one to gauge which one is more beneficial to them, and they can participate in both equally. So I think these kind of steps and focusing on how you can really offer something unique to your community and what you're interested in is super important in terms of the music industry as a whole, because there's a lot of elements to the music industry, and I think there's a lot of areas that are lacking in Web3 that people can come in and seize those opportunities.
Yeah, you speak about the elements, the different kinds of elements involved in artistry and the music industry in itself. So I'm curious, engaging the DAO side of things, like what are some of the challenges for combining those two together, and what are some of the potential benefits of doing that for the artists?
This has been like my struggle and challenge for the past couple of years. So, you know, just from personal experience, when we started DAO Records, it was a small sort of group of 6 people. 5 of them were artists. 1 of them was from the DAO, the DAO, which we used, which was called DAO Stack, which is no longer around. But it was sort of a DAO infrastructure, DAO building tool that, you know, allowed communities of people to build DAOs. And so we deploy our DAO It was, I think, around July of 2020. And that was around the time when the Ethereum gas prices started to increase. So the cost to deploy the DAO was going to be super expensive. So we thought, okay, let's try another network. And this is sort of pre-Matic, pre-Polygon. And so we deployed the DAO on XDAI network, and immediately we found that the other four creatives, excluding myself, had a very difficult time interacting with the DAO. And literally people made an effort to do anything. And I thought, okay, well, what's the issue here? Is it too complicated? And sometimes it's like creatives just want to focus on the creative stuff. So having to learn additional steps to connect the XDAI network, and having to go in and needing to get XDAI tokens in order to interact and all that was super challenging at the early stage. So, as things went along, we started working with the Near protocol to kind of develop a community there. We started using their Sputnik DAO, which is now transformed into Astro DAO. We've helped facilitate probably the creation of at least 20 to 30 DAOs through our music DAO there. And we found that, artists, once it was a bit easier to interact, with the interface and the process, actually took advantage of the benefits of a DAO. And, most of those benefits currently within the Near ecosystem has been accessing funding to turn their ideas and what they want to do into a reality, and going through the process of being a member of a DAO and creating proposals, submitting those proposals. If they get approved, then they go through the other process, and then they interact with the DAO and so on and so forth. So, it's DAOs aren't for everybody. They're still technically slightly challenging, but to get people to participate in governance and the idea of decentralized governance, especially for artists and creatives, has also been changing. So we can look at how to find a way that is more intuitive for artists and isn't necessarily highly demanding of them for tackling a new learning curve and participating.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up such an important part of DAOs in the governance side of things. So I'm curious, in terms of DAO Records governance, what type of proposals are you seeing? Are you funding new and upcoming artists with to see some return on investment for some of the DAO members? Are there voting for the artists themselves, in terms of meet and greets or ticket sales, or voting on an album cover? What type of proposals do you guys envision seeing for DAO Records?
Yes, so currently we're using the DAO strictly for the operation of the core team. And we've been experimenting with a variety of other DAOs within the ecosystem to look at what are the needs of the artists and what would they want to do, what with funds they were available. And through our experiments with the various other DAOs that we're operating, we get to kind of play around with that and see what might work and what doesn't work. But specifically for the direction that we want to go with DAO Records is that all the artists who participate with us, who are releasing their music NFTs with our, I don't want to call it platform, but with DAO Records, become members of the DAO. They receive an NFT as membership. And then once we've kind of set things up operationally a bit more, and we've set up sort of all the educational modules and sort of gone through things in more detail with artists and discovering their needs, we do want to start to put aside a percentage of the funds that we have locked into the DAO towards providing grants to artists and really looking at what artists need. And I think within the music industry, it's access and exposure. Sometimes people need access to a studio to record their stuff. Maybe they need to find a beat maker to pay for a beat. Maybe they need, a recording time or what that might be, right? mastering and engineering. And also they need help with exposure. So that would be like marketing and promotion. So they can utilize funds from the DAO, apply for grants to then use those funds for marketing promotion or, creating new music. And I think that to figure out different ways that's beneficial to the artists. Another cool thing that we're planning to do is also take a percentage of the funds from the DAO Records split to go into a pension fund, because normally artists don't happen to have pensions. Typically, they're working independently and freelance, and they tend not to sort of pay into any sort of pension schemes. And I've found through my experience, you see artists you love and know who pioneered a genre, and all of a sudden they're broke and no one's really looking after them, and they're having a GoFundMe because they're having a medical issue, or and these type of things are super important as an artist to look at. Okay, what happens when you finish your career? What do you do? So we want to set aside a percentage of funds that will just be staked, so we can earn off of the staking rewards, and that becomes a pool for a pension funds for our members. So we're looking at different ways that we can provide benefit to people and sort of utilize these tools that we have at our disposal.
I know we're seeing like the emergence now of a lot of different like fan tokens and things like that nature for content creators, artists, and stuff like that. So it would be cool to see if that's something you guys eventually end up incorporating as well into DAO Records. Maybe we can get into a bit more of it during the open discussion, because there's a lot to talk about in terms of NFT and music NFTs especially. Thank you. Our next guest is Clay Token. So Clay is just coming up to stage right now. So Clay is an ecosystem for folks to convert their worthless NFTs for an ERC20 token called Clay, and to be able to mint new projects on their launchpad. So they're recycling NFTs that are not going to make it, gathering communities to unite and grow by bringing value to their token holders.
Ethan, thank you for this opportunity and the introduction. I think that was a good one, and I think our vision as a DAO kind of project is quite similar to Governor DAO, actually, in terms of the kind of unrug as a service and pre-deployment consulting type thing. So essentially what we're trying to do is with NFTs kind of going into a bear market, more and more there's scam projects or projects that get rugged because the people lose interest, the founders are no longer willing, able to kind of deliver on what was promised, or that they have delivered it and then don't want to progress any further. And for like a variety of reasons, so many of these projects just get abandoned, and it's really quite a shame, because each of them would have these communities and relationships that they build up over the span of their project's lifespan. And there's always the few people who are still keen and want to fix and bring it back to life. But if they get rugged, I guess they don't want to generate volume that is still providing royalty to the people who rugged them, or they may be unable to do it on their own because there's only a handful of people still keen about the project. Like say with 5 to 10 people, they're unable to kind of get Twitter momentum going, or some way to market to generate exposure for the projects. And so what Clay aims to do is to kind of gather all of these projects together by uniting them under a common ERC20 token, which is the Clay token. So rather than each NFT project only having their own bunch, they're kind of united under a more common and liquid token. So we're able to build a bigger community by gathering these smaller groups that are still keen to work on reviving projects or starting out something fresh. And yes, so the way we do it is that we launch a smart contract where people can kind of trade in their NFTs, and then what they get back is a Clay token. And as we build up the community, what we hope to do is start to accept projects into our what we call Launchpad. So when there's projects that launch out that want direct access to a community to have the initial exposure or momentum, they would set aside like a bit like how whitelist works, but it's pretty much letting people mint a portion of the NFTs using Clay. And so it's that would be a benefit to all parties in the sense that Clay holders will have a liquid token that they can mint whatever project that they vibe with, and then the NFT projects can have access to a reasonable like user base to kick things off for launching the new projects. And for people that kind of like want to stick to their original projects, we also provide like I guess a royalty-free version of it through a relaunch of the NFT projects. Founders just rug them and are just continuing to like suck up the royalties and stuff. We've been taken in like reaching out to like hundreds of communities. We've onboarded like over a dozen kind of different NFT projects, and we're growing our community.
Yeah, it's an amazing concept, great idea. I first heard about Clay through being a birdhouse NFT holder. They rug, probably like how long ago was that? Like 6 months, 8 months ago. Time moves quick in the crypto space, but I heard about Clay project. It's such a sweet idea. And super excited to see you guys build out and continue to grow in the space. I do have a couple questions for you. In terms of the tokenomics for Clay token, how does it work?
Yeah, so for the tokenomics, we want to emphasize on two things. One is we reward the early adopters, and two is to kind of mass market the idea of the project so that we could have a much less. So in order to do that, we incentivize early trade-ins through higher claim rates. So if right now, if you trade in a rug NFT, what you get is 10 Clay tokens, and for each referral, you get 50% of whatever the person who trades in gets. And this aims to grow the Clay ecosystem. But as we become more established with a larger community and more projects that are coming through our Launchpad, this is likely to decrease down to 1 Clay token per NFT and only 10% kind of referral rates. This would, I guess, kind of control the token supply and reduce the inflation element. And we're also building out various token consumption mechanisms to I guess maintain the value of Clay once we pump in the liquidity pools.
I'm curious in terms of like the utilities of the Clay tokens. Like are you going to be using them on your Launchpad? You mentioned that projects can relaunch if the owner's rugged and they're claiming royalties still, or even having new projects use the Launchpad. So what type of utility do you see Clay tokens having?
Yeah, so the utility of Clay is to first be able to use them to mint new projects that accept Clay. So we've got about 2 or 3 projects that want to partner with us. And when they launch, they will have like the public mint, and then aside of that, they also have the kind of Clay mint, which is effectively working like a whitelist. And so for paying a few Clay tokens, you can get the NFT without any ETH kind of payments. And eventually, we also want to build out a kind of staking mechanism where people who like stake their Clay will get a share of any kind of Launchpad fees that we receive. So, for example, if a project wants to launch through Clay, and then they raise say 100 ETH in capital, and then they pay a small fee, say like 5 ETH, which is 5% of that, to us, and then we would be distributing that 5% among people who have staked Clay. So that's a more, I guess, longer term plan for the Clay ecosystem. But at this stage, we're just kind of growing out our community to increase the size and like influence we could have to attract projects and more communities.
Yeah, it's great stuff. In terms of like some projects, so like we've just seen it with the Pudgy Penguins. They've sort of made this resurgence after losing almost all their value. In terms of like the tiers, so like you're accepting any type of rugged NFT, or is it you guys like decide as a DAO which NFT collections you're gonna offer the trade of Clay for? And then if a rugged NFT project moons, how does that work for Clay holders?
Yeah, so I think to keep things simple, we will take in any NFTs that people want to trade in, because I think it's within the I guess basic incentives that people wouldn't trade in things that have value. So the only thing they would trade in is either it has been rugged and it's worthless, or the fact it hasn't been rugged but the project is going nowhere, and for the same reasons it's also worthless. So I guess we don't want to restrict it to those that only we choose, because yeah, it just creates more barriers than necessary. And yeah, I think that's something that we've gathered from reaching out to many communities, that people always kind of hold on to the hope that maybe one day, even though the project is rugged, maybe one day the founders will just come back, and then suddenly a miracle happens, or it gets acquired by some other project, and then that project moons, and then they don't want to kind of miss out on that. So I think in the event that like your rugged project becomes like the next ETH kind of thing, where each piece is worth like 100 ETH, so your NFTs traded in, firstly, it's not burned. It doesn't go to that dead wallet. Where it does, it goes into a rug vault. And so eventually that will become a multi-sig wallet. And in the event that your rug NFT actually moons one day, we would sell it, and you would get 50% of whatever that value is. So if it was 100 ETH, you get 50. And then the other 50% would come to our DAO wallet to fund our ecosystem.
So the owner of the NFT that traded it in gets 50%, and then the other 50 goes to the DAO? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, super cool concept. I definitely see like a lot of these projects over time, especially gaining a lot of value just when we look back at crypto history and art in the digital space. A lot of these PFP collections that came out during the bull market, even though they're not worth anything now, they probably will be looked upon as a novelty type art piece. How far out that'll be, but hopefully in the short term you start to see more projects revive themselves and bring some value to the Clay ecosystem. One of the other questions that just came up for me, in terms of the communities that you're bringing in from these rug projects, like, are you finding that they've had like a uptake in just like more interest again in the project and working together and just more involvement and engagement?
Yeah, I think in terms of what types of people come through, there's really a whole spectrum. Like there's when I reach out to the, different communities, there's always the defensive ones that says, oh, we don't know, like, why would I trade it in? Where is it going? And like, oh, I like to stick to the project because I like the art, or it might move one day. And then there's those that kind of want to, are keen to rebuild, and those that want to kind of do another like Twitter push, new marketing. So, and we hope to, I guess, gather the enthusiastic bunch within each community, and put their brains together to something new. Yeah, so we're gathering like coders, artists, and marketers. I think these are the, I guess, main pillars within the NFT ecosystem in terms of like skills, and yeah, putting those together to try and build something together.
Yeah, it's almost like you could eventually have like sub DAOs like within the Clay ecosystem for each project, depending on how big the communities are. But again, it's a super cool project, and there's definitely some similarities in terms of like NFT launch pads. Like for us, for Governor DAO, with our proof of existence, we offer like whitelist. NFT artists can they can incentivize just people that have signed up for proof of existence because they know that they're playing fair, right? So that they only mint one NFT, or they get to set the parameters how they want, but at least that those launches aren't getting bought up by whales. And I think that could be important down the road as well for Clay, in terms of just making sure that relaunches go smoothly and things like that. And then again, the similar ethos within a DAO is like helping unrug crypto projects by helping them with liquidity generation events, consulting, and things of that nature as well.
That we're like constantly kind of reaching out to I guess different projects that can be kind of beneficial when we collaborate with each other. For example, there's other kind of rug kind of Twitter space kind of communities that just help out rug projects, and just kind of regularly run those community spaces. And there's also other projects where they focus more on the launchpad side, and we've also reached out to them in terms of collaborating in terms of capital raising and kind of building value. So this ecosystem has quite a few moving parts, and we're constantly looking for partnerships that would be beneficial.
So our last guest, Tiexo, is an NFT marketplace aggregator building a mobile application on Solana. It brings together 10 plus marketplaces, 7K collections, 10 million NFTs on it, over 1 million individual listings. And in addition to their NFTs, they aggregate auxiliary services like token swaps, staking, and blockchain stats. They also have many NFT-focused features like multi-listings, rankings, best price, search filters, and account history.
Welcome.
Hey guys. I guess that's a note to myself. I should probably remove that word auxiliary from any kind of statements we send out. Well, hey man, ETH, it's an absolute pleasure being on here. It's been really cool hearing the previous two guests. For those of you who don't know, ETH Ledger has actually been a moderator for Tiexo for many number of months now, and part of the project right from the very beginning whenever we first launched. So it's awesome to see all this kind of overlap happening now.
Nepotism at its finest. We had to bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, it must not be that strong. It's episode 10, and this is the first time that we've graced the presence. So anyway, so my name is Ben. I'm with Tiexo. I'm the main content marketing guy, although marketing isn't necessarily my strong suit. Tiexo started back in December of this year, building on Solana. Our original objective was to take part in the NFT boom, and we actually constricted. We had 12 flagship collections created, and from December through February, we minted 5 of those. During that time, we realized very quickly that the NFT project isn't enough. That you have to have a platform that you can provide utility on. And our first pivot was actually into being just a typical Solana NFT marketplace, similar to Magic Eden, Solinar, SolSea, etc. Unfortunately, we realized very, very quickly that Magic Eden had an absolute stranglehold on the market, on the NFT secondary sales market. So we pivoted into an aggregator model. So rather than providing just marketplace services, we actually aggregate. I think right now we're up to 17 different NFT marketplaces, and it's every marketplace that's on Solana. And we're in the process of onboarding our first Ethereum-based marketplace. TXO, in addition to being a marketplace, also has all kinds of investor tools. You can list your NFT on multiple marketplaces with just a couple clicks. You can find an NFT that's listed on multiple marketplaces and identify what the best price is, so that you never overpay anymore. We have an entire statistics hub which gives market cap and listings and volume information, volume data from the Solana blockchain. We also have token swap services. Those are tied to our original blockchain company that's called Moonlit. And then I guess the news that isn't necessarily a secret, but we haven't been talking about it a whole lot since it's so early. Just last week, we were invited to join the Backpack X NFT project. I think we're one of about the first 50, 60 projects, something like that, that's been invited. So yeah, our devs are working hard on developing a mobile application that will be part of Backpack, that will be part of Solana Mobile, part of the platform. And yeah, we spend a lot of our time going all over to all of the different hacker houses and blockchain conferences. We have a team in Stockholm this week. We'll be at DevCon, Ethereum DevCon in Colombia in October. And then we will also be at Solana Breakpoint in Lisbon in November.
Skipping Vancouver, eh?
They won't let me out.
All good. Yeah, no, that's exciting. You guys are working on that Backpack Dev program. So the mobile application will be, what will that be exactly? What type of application are they looking at building, Ben?
Well, so Backpack is, I guess, the simplest way to look at it. It's kind of like the wallet for Saga that's going to hold all of the applications. And so we're just going to be an application in there. It's very similar to releasing an application on the App Store or through Google Play. And we're just going to be our initial application is the marketplace aggregator, and then after that we'll start to expand to all of our other features.
I also heard something that made my ears perk up a bit in terms of the ETH Marketplace for NFTs. You guys are looking at aggregating the data from it, or are you looking? So you're looking at bringing ETH NFTs to TXO Marketplace itself.
We'll bring Ethereum NFTs directly to the marketplace. So we have a partnership with Jump Crypto and Wormhole. And we're working hand in hand with them as we speak about implementing the cross-chain protocols that both of those companies are working on.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm excited to see that come to fruition. I know it's been talked about for quite a while, and it's just exciting times in crypto to see that kind of interoperability happening. I did have another question for you. So are there any plans for TXO in the future to incorporate any type of DAO framework or like governance, tokenomics, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of our original roadmap, which has since then been revised multiple times, was to have a DAO that was tied to our utility badges. So ETH, you're probably familiar with that, but for those who aren't, each one of our flagship NFT collections, if you mint one, you actually receive 2 NFTs. So you receive the flagship collection, and then you also receive what we call a utility badge. What those badges do is if you hold them in your wallet, they give you discounts on token swaps, they give you discounts on marketplace sales fees, and things like that. The long-term plan was and still is eventually to use those badges for the DAO voting, for the DAO governance. As far as time frame goes, though, it's so far in the future that it's probably not even worth speculating on right now.
No worries. In terms of the badges, again, going back to the badges, so they do offer discounts, correct, for people that hold them on the marketplace?
Absolutely. On listings that are on the TXO marketplace, that discount doesn't apply to the other marketplaces smart contracts.
I have to say, too, those flagship collections, especially the first flagship collection, the Cryptonauts, first NFT, and they're pretty beautiful things. Super cool collection. And in terms of some of the other features you listed, the staking, so people can stake their SOL directly through Tiexo, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So our first blockchain project is called Moonlit. It's a non-custodial staking wallet, and it's our base of our node operations. And we have, I think right now, for Solana, somewhere around 300,000 tokens under management, something like that.
Really appreciate you coming on tonight, Ben. It's always great to chat with you, and look forward to some of these exciting things that Tiexo has in the pipeline. They're definitely proving themselves to be like one of the bigger marketplaces in the Solana ecosystem. And with ETH projects coming in, it'll be exciting to see where that growth continues to go.
Talk about, I think everyone here's got NFTs in some sort or another related to their project. So what do you guys think about talking a little bit about the overall state of NFTs in the market currently, and kind of how you think things are going in general? Problems you see, solutions you see, just anything that comes to mind. Let's kind of keep it open, and whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
Well, hey, I'll go ahead and hop in here and get this started real quick. I was really interested to hear Clay Token talk about what you guys are putting together and what your vision is for the future, because when we talk about the state of NFTs and trends right now, something that we as a team have observed, and something that we continue to see becoming more popular, is a rugged project, or a project that didn't necessarily deliver on its promises, being brought back to life, right? These projects, a lot of these ones that end up going under, they have huge brand awareness. They have these built-in communities like you discussed, and I think we're going to see that trend continue as time goes on. These original projects that are always going to stick out in people's minds because maybe they were their first NFT project, or maybe they were their first NFT project that ever got rugged, or their first scam they were ever involved with. So yeah, I think that trend is going to be huge in the future. And Clay Token, I hope you guys are able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're constantly trying to work out what the magic recipe is in terms of, I guess, getting everyone to come together and rebuild as a bigger team. I think that I have observed like some smaller projects that I've done, I guess, partnerships where like there's two rug communities that happen to have like a DAO wallet with some funds in it, and then they just band together and build something new together. But I guess our ultimate vision is to get a even bigger and broader version of that going.
Yeah, one thing I think is really cool about what you guys have going is kind of the aspect of bringing in the survivors from the community, and bringing everybody together. One thing that I've experienced with the few rug projects that I've been a part of, including GDAO's predecessor, is that the folks who survive that and come together to build something, there's something special about a community that builds together out of adversity, and the resilience that's there, and the innovation and the desire to make something work. So I think that's a cool aspect of what you guys are doing that could really be something special.
It reminds me of a project that came out, I think maybe last year, that was experimenting on wrapping CryptoKitties. So you can kind of create liquidity with your CryptoKitty and sort of revive the CryptoKitties, which was really interesting. It's kind of using like a vault technology, and they issued like a wrapped CryptoKitty token, and then you could use that in like liquidity pooling and fractionalizing your CryptoKitties. So I found that pretty interesting. But Clay Token, I did speak to someone who had a similar idea. Their project, I think, was called Dust, and it was about transforming your worthless or whatever NFTs into dust, and then they had their sort of tokenomics built out around it. But I'm not sure if they ever kind of took off or not, as I haven't really seen much about it. But glad to know there's other projects with similar thinking around how you can repurpose your sort of worthless NFTs.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I think there's also other similar projects that we've come across. I think the biggest one is the Ash project by Beck, the artist, and I think, but his is more about his own art, that so people can trade their NFTs for Ash and then use Ash to mint like art projects that are by Peck. But once he like is no longer releasing anything, that then the token kind of drops off, and so I think yeah, we hope to put it in a more like an ecosystem that anyone and everyone can be a part of. And yeah, there are other projects that we've come across, which we have talked to really merge with what was called like JPEGers, and which is also the same system. And then I think their narrative is more about like kind of realizing your like losses so they can claim it for tax purposes, and it's very, I think, US oriented. But yeah, similar concepts, and we're always like open to kind of merging with others so we can like become a bigger project. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see DAOs come together to like purchase things like blue chip NFTs to like, it's kind of like sidesteps like the fractionalized NFTs in a way, with it being the same thing. And we're starting to see DAOs like buy all sorts of things. Like, you know, they tried to get the Constitution at one point, and they bought like the Wu-Tang album, the $1 million Wu-Tang album. And I've seen another DAO just buy like a pudgy penguin for like 100 ETH or something
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
So
Fractionalization as well.
yeah, it's crazy. But super cool to see what DAOs are doing. I guess my next question would be like for DAO Records, like where do you see like music NFTs going in the next 5 to 10 years and that whole industry?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, like when I started my NFT journey, you know, it was well, CryptoKitties days, right? And you know, I was searching for the creatives in the space, and then I had rediscovered crypto art, probably late 2019, and that was where it was kind of like, okay, it's finally happening. So it's kind of looking at the foundation of NFTs currently that has been developed and kind of defined by crypto art and the crypto art movement. And that sort of transformed when sort of this resurgence of the ICO concept came into NFTs, and thus became sort of the 10K projects that we see, right? The PFP projects. And I feel like in a way, like, I mean, it's great for sort of the NFT industry as a whole to kind of have a bit more exposure and more money going through. But looking at artistic or art or music at NFTs as sort of a speculative asset, I think is the personally, I think it's the wrong approach in terms of why you're going in to buy an NFT from an artist. So kind of navigating this space that has really been sort of pushing the PFP style 10K drops, for looking at how we can position music NFTs better. We still need to kind of develop the platforms and also the use cases and utility specifically for music NFTs within the overall Web3 space. So I think down the road, as we kind of explore what works, what doesn't work, and kind of really trying to see what the community wants, in terms of, you know, utility, whether that's something that's important or whether that's sort of like a play to earn with NFT music streaming, or, you know, sort of IRL virtual access with metaverse stuff and live performances. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. We don't really know. We're hoping that we can help sort of define that, and work together with the others in the ecosystem to just really have fun with it. You know, like music and art is a fun thing. You shouldn't be really worried about or concerned with like a floor price, or, you know, when you're going to flip it. It's, you know, we want people to come in and really appreciate and be a part of these communities. So.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've seen a few different approaches too. Like, I'm sure you've heard of like the Royal NFT project. They launched like some music. I think Nas dropped one of his singles on there, and they were giving back royalties on their streaming platform, as well as like sometimes they'll pair them with like meet and greets or signed CDs or something like that. So it is kind of cool to see the innovation. And there was another project that also signed a bunch of artists. I think it's called Mithril Ore, and they signed a bunch of hip hop artists, created mixtapes, and then released that on Spotify. And what they did with the royalties is they dumped that into a staking pool for Ethereum, and kept putting the royalties into that staking pool, and then the owners of the token are set to get the profits from that. So that was another super cool idea. And there's so many use cases and different ways to approach it. It's really quite fascinating, and I think bringing the power back to the artists and also the fans of the artists, right? Giving them situations where they can vote on things and just feel more like involved and engaged in an artist's trajectory as well, and that's really cool to see.
But I think those projects aren't necessarily music NFTs, right? Like they're just basically you're buying an NFT as a representation of your shared ownership of a royalty percentage, right? So it's not like what we imagine a music NFT to be is like a piece of music. It's the CD, it's the format, a new musical format in a way. It could represent those other things, but in terms of those projects, I don't see them as actually music NFTs themselves, but music projects using NFTs.
Tiexo, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just had maybe a quick question for DAO Records, real quick, just to get your unique perspective on this. So, do you think that companies like One of that are just extremely highly corporatized, well-funded, uh, entries into the blockchain and NFT world by the traditional music industries, do you think that like a platform like that is actually going to succeed long term, or do you think that the reason that they're doing well now is they're just simply propped up by Columbia or big music? Do you see the trend being with a lot more let's just call them like smaller record labels, for lack of a better term, like DAO Records is? Do you think that trend's going to be the one that actually sets in, or do you think that these just dumb corporate NFT companies are going to, make their stake?
That's a really good question, because I think music NFTs are really trying to discover what they are, and find their identity within the PFP hype and the crypto art origin. And projects that are focused on using similar models, such as like what came from crypto art, as like one of ones and these type of things. Like this is how we started with DAO Records, is releasing one of one NFTs, and then unlockable content for the music, and then slowly started doing editions and trying to figure things out where that's going to go. And currently our model is more focused on unlimited NFTs, as in, so like you would buy a CD from a record label, right? And the record label would stop printing CDs if there was a demand for CDs, so they would just keep printing. So our concept is a bit similar to that. So it's like, what's going to work with music NFTs? I don't know, but I do feel like if people continue to follow the current model, they're going to have a lot more difficulty in sustaining themselves long term. I think we need to really examine what works specifically for music and kind of move away from using existing models.
Yeah, I also had a question for DAO Records. I guess you sort of partially answered that just now. It was more about like how does the I guess tokenomics side of things work on for DAO Records? Like, are you selling like single records or an album, or is it like a right to like all future music by an artist? like what are you actually kind of selling, and how are you kind of raising the capital?
Sure. So currently, our kind of release distribution model is an NFT minting system that we developed called PhonoRoot. And it's essentially like a birthing of NFTs. So we start with a master, which is your Gen 1. And then from the master come 2 NFTs, which are the children of the Gen 1. They become Gen 2. As soon as those 2 NFTs sell, then the Gen 3, it releases 4 children, and so on and so forth down through the generations. And what we wanted to do is really kind of incentivize early collector and hoarders by incorporating an incentivization mechanism where there's a royalty that goes from the DAO Records royalty percentage is allocated to all previous holders from future sales. So if you purchased the Generation 2 and then someone bought a Gen 3, you would receive a percentage of royalty based on how many sort of generations it's got to flow through up the chain. So that's kind of our model at the moment. But what we really want to look at exploring is how we can sort of use music NFTs specifically for staking and streaming, and how we can develop a model around that. I think that's something super interesting, and we've been kind of working with one project on Near Protocol called Rocketo, which is token streaming platform. So you can basically stream tokens over a duration of time, and it sends them. And we want to look at sort of real-time implementation of token streaming to a handful of wallets with splits, and sort of develop sort of a play to earn model, maybe subscription based. I'm not sure. We're still playing around with it, but currently that's sort of our NFT distribution model. But we are looking at other things like one-of-ones, for super exclusive things, a lot of sort of metaverse elements, memberships, and also incorporating like IRL aspects where it's like artists are at a show, they can create, say, a sticker with an NFC chip, and that can be like a one-of-one, or access to like a POAP or whatever if you're attending the event, and different things. How we can kind of merge these sort of physical situations and experiences and merchandising with NFTs as well. So I hope that kind of answered your question. We currently haven't been going for funding yet. We've been kind of going with grants and self-funding to build our core product out. But we'll soon be looking at doing some funding and potentially looking at how we can develop a variety of different tokens to serve different needs within the broader ecosystem.
Yeah, some very interesting mechanism there. Thank you.
I did have one question for you, Pencil. Do you guys have plans of going into other chains as well, like besides Ethereum for NFTs?
Yeah, some of our community members have asked this as well. I think we will probably first establish a strong presence in the ETH ecosystem first, and then once we get to that stage, then we can talk about like moving over to other blockchains, cross chain.
Another quick question I had for you is, like, I've seen like a lot of projects, NFT projects, sort of like do mashups together. Like right now, I think like the Wonky Stonks and Pudgy Penguins have been doing lots of mashups and stuff like that. I'm curious if any of the projects that have become a part of the Clay ecosystem, if you're seeing them like collaborate with one another.
Yeah, so I think that would be mainly dependent on the artists, either the artist being present or the generator and like the kind of inputs being there. So it's very similar to like project kind of collaborations that through the collabs that generate more exposure going each way. So I think that really depends on the nature of the project, whether people still vibe with the original project versus want to build something new. So I think just giving the Birdhouse as an example, like I was in talk with some of the kind of the people who are still in the council for Bread House in terms of how best to do a relaunch. And then some of the initial ideas was to do like a Birds of a kind of relaunch. So on the graphics side, I guess recolor everything in a more clay-based kind of theme. But we're really kind of trying to think up of a longer-term incentive, long-lasting utility before, I guess, just printing more NFTs.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. It's a cool possible like byproduct, right, of having all these projects under one umbrella. Them coming together to mash up the art that they have or that they've traded in, or even just like doing banners and things like that, but also just coming together and coming up with ideas. So that's super cool to have it all under one roof kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like the NFT market and stuff like that, yeah, it was a crazy bull run there for sure. And all these projects that launched and a lot of them have plummeted in value. You still have the superior ones like Bored Ape and the CryptoPunks and things like that. It'll be interesting to see, which some of the mid-tier ones and growing or how long they stick around for and things like that. I do think we'll get another NFT bull run when we get a crypto bull run and stuff like that too. But until then, just a lot of innovation, hopefully in the bear market, and cool ideas, cool DAOs popping up, and cool projects like Clay and DAO Records and stuff. Because in the bear is the best time to build, and it's just cool to see everybody come together and try to make this space more decentralized, more fun, more secure, and hopefully more profitable for people in general.
Yeah, lots to be excited about these days, in my opinion. It's funny how with the bear market everything's kind of slowed down, but all I see is all the cool things that these different projects are doing, even though the excitement is, or the masses, I should say, aren't as active at the moment. So I'm pretty excited about what that's going to mean for once that excitement comes back into the space and people start to realize all the cool things that build while they've been away.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's about what sort of fundamental value you're building beyond just tagging NFT onto whatever. Like our previous Web2 stuff, it was, yeah. Like in the innovation side, I think it's really quite rare that someone would build something super innovative, like whether that's on-chain art or like cross-chain or something that's like proxy and some form of like super creative cutting-edge technology. Like I think 99% of it is just tagging on NFT onto like an art. And so then the value really comes from building strong communities, strong brands, and things that businesses concepts that actually work in the Web2 world, but we're putting, I guess, an NFT and blockchain onto it just as an additional booster. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things go next, whether it's soulbound token or something else.
Let's let folks give kind of a closing statement if they want, and then I'll close us out. DAO Records, you want to go first?
Sure. Once again, thanks a lot, guys, for inviting us to be here to share. It's great to also meet everybody, Pencil, Clay Token, and Tiexo, and also learn more about GDAO and what you guys are doing. So thanks a lot for that. Also, just for anybody listening, looking to start an NFT project or do something in the space, just get out there and do it. Experiment, try new things, and integrate the different aspects of the technology. Collaborate. I think the space is amazing for collaboration. And people are super open to exploring different possibilities. So get your ideas going. And don't be afraid to try something crazy. So this is the perfect place for that.
Awesome. Clay Token, you want to give a closing?
Yeah, thanks, Eth and Blake, for having us on this Governor DAO Spaces, giving us this opportunity. And Yeah, on a closing note, yeah, if anyone has rugged NFTs and are keen builder, whether it's artist, coder, or just want to vibe with community we're building, come check us out. Clay Token, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Really appreciate it. Next week, we're back to our usual time of 1 p.m. Pacific. And we'll have with us Cult DAO, Any DAO, and Purple Creator. So be sure to plan to join us next week. And hope you guys have a good rest of your evening and a good rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Take
Thank
care.
you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.